What's up guys, this is Joe from Petty Fixes, and today I'm here to bring you guys another video. So I know it's been a while since I reviewed anything or just talked about anything in general on my channel. So I just thought today would be a good day, since I'm free and everything, to whip together a quick video, a quick review on my new PC case that's sitting right back here behind me. It's the Anidees AI Crystal Cube Lite. I got this case about 3 weeks ago. It's just been sitting here. It's already built inside of it and everything, but I just decided to go ahead and do a quick review. I found out about this case because I was looking at a reviewer's video on the AMD Ryzen 7 chips, and he did a build inside of this case. And I like tempered glass cases. I've always wanted one, but they're just too expensive for me. They always range within the $300 to $400 range for the ones that, you know, fancy me, the ones that I particularly like the Lian Li PC08 or the PC09, but I just don't have that kind of money. So I did a little research. I found out about the case, I found out where it came from, and I found out exactly how much it was, and it was roughly about $140, which is more than affordable to me for an all tempered glass case. So with that said, I bought it, I sprung on it, and I decided to replace my Corsair Air 540 case, and I'm very impressed. So with that said, let's jump into my initial thoughts and my initial views of this case.
Okay, so let's start off why I even purchased this case. The reason I got this case pretty much was I wanted something to show off my build, and I wanted something premium looking, but I didn't want to pay a premium price. This case was $139, and that's all it was. Now for a tempered glass case, that's pretty reasonable. I've seen cases out there like the premium cases from Lian Li that cost upwards of $400, and to me that's just too much to pay for a case. Even though it looks nice, I don't think that's justifiable. Now let's talk about the reason that I got this case. I chose this case for its beauty, obviously. Now the tempered glass surfaces just give off a very premium look, not seen on most cases in this price range, especially comparing it to my Corsair Air 540 case. Now this case is physically smaller in dimensions than my Corsair Air 540. It's shorter in height, it's a little bit more shallow in depth, and slightly more narrow in width. But it's still a pretty spacious case that's a dream to build in. The case itself is made of glass and metal. There's hardly any plastic on the case at all, save for the side panels on the front tempered glass panel where the I/O is, but we'll get to that in a second. There's air intake grills on either side of the front panel with filters, which are a welcome addition, as the Air 540 didn't have any on the front panel really, except for one, but that was supposed to filter the whole entire case, which didn't make sense to me. This case has 6 total, which is more than enough, but more on that in a minute. Around to the right, there is glass. To the left of the case, there's more glass. Oh, and that front panel I was talking about, the input and output. There's 2 USB 3.0 ports, 2 USB 2.0 ports, a headphone jack, a microphone port, a reset button with the hard drive indicator light around it, and there's a cool little switch that switches the fans from high, low, or silent with the included fan hub that's in the back of the case. That's actually a pretty unexpected inclusion. The cool thing about this input and output hub is that you can actually switch the hub from the left of the case to the right side of the case where the power button is. I actually prefer it on the left side of the case, as my PC sits to the right of me and the ports are easily accessible right there. The front glass, now, I mean, it's just glass everywhere, you know. It's all over the place, and that's why I chose this case. There's a LED power button up top too with a ring around it, which is pretty nice. The glass is pretty reflective also, with a really dark tint, and it kind of makes it a little difficult to see. Like if you have some fans that are LED lit, they may be a little washed out, but I have the Thermaltake ring fans, so they show through pretty good, but I still think they're a little dark. But I'll be adding an LED lighting solution to this case to remedy that. Around the back of the case, there's an exhaust fan in the main chamber, an exhaust or intake fan, whichever may be appropriate for you and your particular build, the I/O from the motherboard, and there are 7 PCI slots with a unique mechanism to get the slots. There's a screw that unscrews, and then the bracket containing the PCI slots are revealed. It's kind of a pain, honestly. I really didn't like it, but it works for me. Up top, there's a grill that contains a gigantic magnetic dust filter. It's pretty easy to remove. You just peel it off, rinse it off, and stick it back on if you need to clean it. There's tons of room for a variety of different fans configurations and water cooler configurations also. Okay, so now let's talk about the interior. Now, I know I should have done this part of the review before I had built my PC inside of it, but I got a little lazy and I didn't want to disassemble my PC, but take my word for it, this case is a dream to build in. Now, taking off the left side panel reveals the interior where your components would be. I personally use a micro ATX motherboard and there's a good amount of space left. But this actually fills out my case more than it did with my Corsair Air 540 because the motherboard placement being a little further down in the chassis than my Air 540 just kind of fills it out better. There's room for a 240mm radiator up top. As you can see, I have the Corsair H100i V2 in my personal build, and in the front you could put one there also. You can also fit a 120mm radiator in the back where the exhaust fan is. Now at the bottom of the case, there's space for another 120mm fan, and you could put a radiator there also. And there's a cool little feature right next to it, a water cooling reservoir spot. Now I didn't notice that at first, it just popped out to me all of a sudden. This case was made for water cooling in mind, so if you want to do a custom loop, this is the case for you. If you don't want to put a water cooling reservoir right there though, there's a space to mount a 2.5-inch drive like a SSD. Now, not only is there room for one res, there's room for another one on the other side of the case where all the cables are, for those who want to go all out with their water cooling solutions. There's rubber grommets all over the case for your cable routing needs. And speaking of cable routing, let me just show you how the reverse side looks. Now, don't judge me because I'm not the best at routing all my cables, and I really didn't put much effort into considering I got tons of cables from extensions going on. But this case had ample enough room for all the cable routing that I had to get going. It comes with cable ties and a nice amount of cable tie points in it. Now, as far as the hard drive placement goes, there's a unique solution. Anidees does what everybody else does and they include slide out trays. The drive caddy itself is actually on a swivel arm, it's like a hinge. So you unscrew that hinge, the little screw, and the base swings open, allowing easy access to the drive trays. Now, you can mount an SSD on the outside of that drive tray also, as seen in my picture. The only thing I wish is that they would have included more drive bays or storage mounting points somewhere in the case, because there's only room for two 3.5-inch drives and one SSD on the caddy. Then you have that one auxiliary one up front where the res goes if you choose not to do a custom loop on your build. So if you do a custom loop on your build, you're kind of out of luck right there, so you only have 3 options for storage mounting. But if you're good at cable management, then you could install some LED strips on this side of the case and show off that beautiful cable work along with the SSD right there front and center. Onto the front of the case. The front of the case is obviously glass, but it's not laid out like the typical tempered glass case. Because this is a cube style case, it isn't limited by just 3 fans going up in an up and down pattern. You can see that there's space for 4 120mm fans which are laid out in a square pattern, that kind of caught my eye when I first saw this case. The fans are actually screwed onto a supplied fan bracket, then that bracket is then screwed onto the chassis. Right behind that bracket are 2 magnetic dust filters. Now I can't take it off to show you, my build's already complete, but that's besides the point. I'd include pictures anyway. One of the component side is for the chassis, and then the other filter is for the cable management side of the chassis, which is pretty thoughtful. Now be careful how you route the cables for your fans though, as they may show through once the fans are lit if you have LED fans like I do. Also in the front is a 5.25-inch drive bay, but I don't see any locking points that'll hold the bay accessory in place. So that's kind of a weird thing about this case. I just don't understand that part. Alongside of that front panel that detaches, there's an intake grill on either side of it with fan filters that are removable as well. So now I told you there's a ton of filters in this case, there's around like 6 or 7 of them. But that's essentially all there is to the front part of the case. Okay, so taking off the front panel, you will see those fans, but there's a caveat about taking that off. When you take it off, it does require a nice amount of effort. And when you take it off, that power button is real sensitive up top, and you can actually dislodge it from place, which is exactly what I did when I first got the case. I actually dislodged that power button and broke the LED light. A cable came loose. I don't know exactly what happened, but a cable came loose, but I spliced everything back together and then it works perfectly fine now. Now let's go over some pros and cons of this case. Okay, so this is a very beautiful tempered glass exterior. That's the main reason I chose this case. There's optimal cooling solutions for this case also. And it was designed with water cooling in mind. There's a ton of dust filters. And it's excellent for cable management. Now for the cons, which there aren't many at all. The only major gripe I have about this case, and the other are little, is the glass surfaces are just fingerprint magnets. They just soak up fingerprints. Cable management can be cramped at times if you have a ton of cables. Dust filters can be hard to get to in some instances, like the one behind the front fans. And there may not be enough hard drive or SSD mounting options for some people.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's my review of the case. As you can tell, I'm pretty impressed with this case. I have no complaints about the case, really. Maybe just a few little, minor things, but there's nothing that's going to deter me from purchasing from this company again. The company has pretty good products. I've looked at their website, and they have nothing but good products. A lot of reviews on their products are very good reviews. So, with that said, thank you guys for watching. If you like what I do, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay petty.